Um, Ada wants to get some sort of recording on how we can um, test out your form, and then there's also a plan to uh, get the provider information and location information into the uh, device. So we probably need to um, get into a position where we plan to um, code on how we will do this. I think I can give
Um,
a review and then we can discuss it more later on.
sure. So, for the lab forms, Win, actually, there was one small change in mUzima.js,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's a really small change, but I wasn't sure if going to be okay with it. So that's the reason why I've created a new repository,
Mm-hmm.
lark-forms, and I've put a copy of muzima.js there.
Okay.
And basically, I added a new button at the bottom of the screen next to the save and submit. I have a
Mm-hmm.
button which says show messages.
Mm-hmm.
So when the button is clicked, basically what happens is all the inputs that the user has given is evaluated and it's given to a rule engine which kind of runs all the rules for that form
Mm-hmm.
and it generates a list of messages based on the user input. And there's a message container, a div which is kind of displayed at the bottom of the form.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only change in muzima.js is the addition of this button called show messages. I've just given the existing button. The buttons are inside a div. So I gave the that div an ID, and I'm using it inside my JS file. The only change is I've added an ID actually. Does
Okay.
that make sense? Yeah. So it's not a big change. I haven't touched the logic. I've just given an ID to the put the buttons inside a section, and I've given that an ID. So that
Mm-hmm.
is to clarify on the changes in muzima.js. And the second thing is, Ada just asked me if I could create a repo for Lark. So
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to let you guys know that I'm not sure whether this should be a public or a private repo because private repos actually, I think they're charged, and I don't have an account, or I'm not sure how I should go about creating a private one. So right now, I've created a public one, and I just sent an email about 8 minutes back.
Oh, okay.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've created a repo. I put all the JS files, the CSS,
Mm-hmm.
and the HTML files inside this repo. And about testing. So they're going to be testing on the device, am I right?
Yeah, I think so. Previously when um, I put out the what is it called? The Muzima form, we have
Hmm.
uh, some sort of um, what do you call it? I guess you can say like some sort of way to test out the form on the computer.
Because I've been testing it out in the browser actually.
Uh-huh.
Because the major, I think most of the form was coded before it came to me, and the only part that was really not, complete was the part about the logics, where if this person answers this, says yes to this question, then display this message about what is hypertension. So, for example, if someone says, if the question is, are you aware of what are the symptoms of hypertension or high blood pressure?
Mm-hmm.
And the user gives the input as no, then you display a message which shows you what are the signs and symptoms of blood pressure and what is the treatment that you need to take. So it's basically just a logical conclusion based on whatever input they've given, but there are almost 40 rules like that. So it was a little well,
Yeah.
definitely ruined the thought a little crazy.
Yeah, I
But
think the
yeah.
reason I want you to put it in the mUzima form is
Mhm.
because, I mean, we're not using any JavaScript or anything from that project.
Mhm.
And then if we clone that project, uh, we can host it in a local server and then test out how the form is going to look like. And then we can also test out um, some part of the logic inside the form because in that um, repository, I changed some of the mUzima JS file, so
Okay.
will not throw any except error, and it will allow you to run the entire project locally and then display the form as if you are in a device.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So should I just submit to Muzi? Okay, my confusion mainly comes from I don't know if Lark is part of Muzima and Registry and Ampac, so I'm not very aware of which team and which organization and which department. So I didn't want to mix up stuff. So that's the reason why I've created one under my name, and I
Uh-huh.
was just like, if whoever knows the right place to put these forms could move it there.
Yeah.
That's the
Um,
reason.
I guess we can ask Ada for confirmation first. I mean, I,
Okay.
yeah, my preference would be to put it inside mUzima form and then we can pull it into like a test server so people can actually test it out in the browser first.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, and the other thing I just wanted to ask you, you know how I think you put up a help guide on how to create forms for Mozilla
Hmm.
on GitHub, and there's a template. I think when you click on it, basically whenever we are testing out a form on the browser,
Uh-huh.
uh, save at the bottom of the thing, I think there's a div called JSON output,
Yeah.
which shows what the JSON was that was generated for this form.
Hmm.
I'm not sure why, but this thing is showing up on the device. So is that expected behavior? That JSON output is showing up at the bottom of the screen on the device.
Yeah, that is one of the modification that I did in the mUzima form, so we can kind of figure out like what the JSON the device will save if you press that two button.
Okay,
So
so
it's not gonna happen in the device. It's just gonna happen on that repository only.
okay, so I don't know. So basically, what I did is I took muzima.js, I made the modifications, I created the new HTML forms.
Mm-hmm.
Then I sent it to Manu, Manu basically put it on his device and he tried to test it and he sent me a screenshot
Mm-hmm.
where I can see the JSON. You know how we see the JSON output at the bottom of the screen on the browser? I can see it on the device as well. So I was just wondering why that is happening because it's not happening with any of the other forms.
Yeah, it shouldn't happen because that one is just modification for the mUzima form. So you probably want to use the actual mUzima form from the project.
Okay.
Yeah, so the safe handler on the mUzima Android and the mUzima form is different. The safe handler for this one, for the mUzima form repository, is displaying the JSON to the browser. The safe handler for the mUzima Android project is sending that to the Java side to process it further.
Okay. So, what am I doing wrong which is causing it to show up on the device? Like,
I think you're probably using the mUzima JS from the mUzima form project into
oh,
Android.
yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, good thing is there's not a lot of changes in Muzima.js, so I can easily just make those changes again in the Android version. Muzima -android repos muzima.js, right?
You can just do a diff on that two file, I think, and then you will see the saved
Okay,
different.
okay.
Yeah. Um, so I guess the to do for this one is probably we need to figure out if it's okay to put the um, lock form into the Mozilla form project for testing. And
Right.
if it's okay, then we can put it in the Mozilla form project and then we can host it in the test server or something and then ask people to try it out in the browser first.
Yeah. I was expecting that instead of, initially putting it on the device itself, because the most whatever there's no story for what I've been working on or a ticket, but mainly I've been focusing on the logic part of it, like which message should be displayed when, and toggle of, if the answer to this is yes, only then display this section, those kind of things,
Mm-hmm.
which I initially they already tested the form and it seems to be coming up on the device. They're able to view images and see the videos. So I haven't really tested all that part, but mainly I've been focusing on the logic part,
Okay.
which is why I think testing in a browser makes more sense.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be easier to test it out on the browser
Right.
to see what if there's I don't know if there's a JavaScript problem or something like that.
Yes, yes, I completely agree. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Let me just type that one first. To do. Um, as data it is okay to. So we have two to-dos from that topic. So the next one is I think it's gonna be uh, so all the code for Mozilla will probably be locked. We're not gonna add any more feature. So I think fingerprint will go to the next version, and then um, I I asked Ada to start testing it out, and then we will just do bug fixes. So if there's any bug, we will try to fix this one, and then we'll try to release a beta version in like a few days.
Mhm.
And then in this beta, we'll probably, if there's any blocker or major bug, we will focus on that one. And then, I don't know, maybe like 2 weeks of testing or 1 week, um, we'll have a final release. Oops, I think we lost Suita. And then,
Sorry, guys, we just got dropped off for a minute, but we're back.
okay. And then once we fix the bug and then have a final release, we'll start the next iteration. And then one of the feature requested is getting the location and then getting the provider to be dynamically loaded from the device into the form. So it's not going to be like how we hard code the provider and location lists in the current forms.
How would we set the location? Are you going to be using some GPS tracking, or is it something that the user enters at the time of starting the session or something?
No, I think it's more it's more of getting the
Or it's more
location.
like a user preference setting or like a user account setting?
I think it's going to be so right now what we have is uh, the location search and location provider search autocomplete.
Mhm.
Those two fields are currently hard coded, so you have a list of providers, you have a list of location inside the form. So I think what they want us to have in the next version is you download the providers list first, and then you download the location list similar to how we download the patient. And then as you fill the form, you can search for these providers and location.
Okay.
Um, so it's going to be in a way dynamic. So if um, I think the use case is when you're in a program and then at the program someone um, a new provider joins in. So instead of updating the form and then rewriting the form in a way, um, we can just download that new providers and then it will be available uh, for the forms if we use it after we download this new provider. I think that's one of the use case.
Okay.
I think it's similar for the location. Um, I hope that makes sense.
Yes, that makes sense, Win.
Um,
I see what you're saying. Every time you add or remove a location, then you have to update the form. So you just get the latest from the server and use that list from which we search for inputs whenever we get prompted for a question about the provider name or the provide location.
yes. So all the providers information and all the location lists will be maintained inside OpenMRS. I think you guys probably already seen this in the admin page. I think the it's going to be how we approach uh, this. Like, how are we planning um, to do the download? I think my preference is uh, we need to do it like Google. So you need to search first to get a result, and then you can download um, provider from that list instead of displaying all the providers and then um, I don't know what you guys think because the if we display everyone, I think it's potentially going to be a lot of
So that's the other thing I was thinking. I mean, this list is pretty common between all the forms. There are about how like a few names that keep showing up, right? It's not like each form has a different set of providers.
yeah
So this list is common between all forms, can I
Um,
assume?
yeah, most likely it's gonna be pretty common.
Right. And so are you saying that it's too much to download the entire list?
Yeah, I think that's the problem. Like AMPAT maintain, I don't know, there's a lot of providers,
Mm-hmm.
and then I mean, I'm not a big fan of displaying the full data set when you open
Right.
the application. For example, like how we approach the uh, the client list.
Mhm.
I'm not a big fan of that one because as soon as we have a lot of patient in our device, it's gonna slow down the system significantly.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess it was a bad decision at the time. I think my preference is always going to be just display, I don't know, some sort of message saying start typing and then display the only patient that match the search criteria, and then you'll get a smaller subset of data that you need to display.
Right.
Yeah,
So are you saying instead of having a select list of some sort where all of the providers are details or names are on that list, we have a search box where the provider starts typing the first three letters of his or her name, and if it's in that list, it should just select that and you put that value into that box. Is that the behavior that you're looking for?
I think the behavior that I'm looking for is actually you. So you start typing, and then uh, the the search term will be sent to the server. The server will return a list of provider,
Yeah,
and then
but
go ahead, Sweta.
yeah. So my question here, Vin, is I don't know if this is an issue, but I thought that a lot of times providers actually fill up forms even in the offline mode, right? Like they
Mhm.
either complete forms or they save them or something. So I mean, if we have to make a call to the server just to get the provider list, wouldn't that be a problem?
Um, yeah, that's true, but I think this one, what I'm talking about is we do this in the wizard step still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay,
it,
so you're saying the information is on the device, but you just don't display it. You only do a search on it and display whatever matches.
yeah.
Okay. So similar to the concepts and everything,
Yeah, I
right?
think it's similar to the concept. So you search and then you get a search result, and then you can add those into the download list.
Okay. So right now on any form, if we go to the end count, the provider field, and you click on it, it's actually a select list showing whatever the 10 or 20. Is that how it's working? Or one sec. But
Um,
I thought even right now, if I start typing the first three letters, it prompts me. Isn't that right?
yes,
Hmm.
I think that's the behavior that we should do.
Yeah. So right now, I think when you first type it, is the JavaScript which is taking the first three letters and doing a search on the list that has been hard coded on the form. So
Hmm.
instead of doing that, we're actually going to look inside the data store of the device to see if there's a match.
Correct.
Okay.
Those are the changes in the form side. And
Okay.
then for the wizard side, we're probably going to add another step to download the providers and location.
Okay.
And then the approach that we will take is going to be similar to how we add concept to that concept list, I think.
Okay.
Uh,
The concepts right now, they're basically downloaded based on whichever form was downloaded. Am I correct? It's kind of
mhm,
depending on the previous step.
mhm.
So for encounters, is there anything which, I mean, how do we decide? Like, I don't know what is the actual number if there is a lot of providers, but I'm just hypothetically saying if there are like 1,000 providers,
Mhm.
how do we choose or how do we narrow down those that are relevant for this user? Is there any way we can do that?
Yeah, that's true. I think we could potentially approach it similar to how we do the wizard for the concept, I guess, because um, in the form we will have the list of default provider, I guess, and then you parse this information, get everyone in that list first,
Hmm.
and if user want to add extra provider, then they can start searching for that extra provider. So it's going to be similar to how we do the concept, I guess, in a way.
Right. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. Uh, okay. I think we should propose this approach to Ada, I guess. I can write an email later on to Ada.
Sure.
So it's gonna be similar for the provider and the location, I guess. So if we want to add extra, they need to search it.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good idea, Sweet.
Yes.
What else? Um, I don't see any issue that I can think of because it's going to be pretty similar to what we have currently, right?
Yeah. I don't see any issues coming up right now.
Yeah. I think it's a good
So, but
first.
one thing we have to really test out is if we're doing this change is, you know how we had that Jira about having a preference setting
Mm-hmm.
where the logged in user is the default provider.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we should test that feature out when we make changes to this part of the code because
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I think it's largely based on
The login information.
yeah, the login and as well as the whatever the and I think based on the login it populates the form
Mm-hmm.
automatically. So I don't know if it's going to have a consequence on that, but just a thought.
Yeah. We definitely need to test on that one. Okay. Hmm. What else? I think that's it from me. Is there?
Uh, no, Vikas doesn't have any
No.
questions, and the only questions I had or the concerns I had was about where to create the lab forms repo, and um, I don't have any idea of how to create a private repo because when I tried to create one, it asked me, um, it prompted me saying that it costs about $7. So I'm not sure if I should be doing that.
Yeah, I
So
don't
for now,
do that.
but I'm also concerned. I don't know if any of these forms are like private information. So I've clearly called out in the email that it's public. So if it's an issue,
Yeah.
then I can always remove it and maybe just push it to mUzima form for now. And then if later they decide to purchase an account for Lark where they can create repos of their own, I can push it to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the other issue I had was about the JSON being displayed at the bottom of the form, and I think that's because I used the wrong version of the muzima.js, so I
Yeah.
should fix that.
Yeah. That one will not save it into the local
The-
repo.
okay, okay, got
The
it.
spill anything, you will lose that form if you close it.
Okay. But I think for testing, the email said that they're starting the rollout on the 1st of February,
Uh-huh.
which is Monday, and I think I have the initial version ready, and I was really hoping that they could just try it out a bit and just see if the behavior is how they expected it to be.
Yeah, I think we will need to test it out first before rolling it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I will ask Ada about this.
Yeah, even if it's just on a browser, because that's how I've been testing it.
Uh-huh.
And I thought maybe if they come back to me and then I can really fix all the small issues and then test it out on the device as well. But
Okay.
Manu has tested it out once on the device, so
Uh-huh.
he didn't see problems with the logic, but except for the JSON showing up and things like that.
Okay.
So yeah, so
Cool.
that's it from you, Win.
I think that's it for me too. Is there any other question?
No, nothing from our side.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, have a
Cool.
good
Hi,
day. Bye. Bye,
Cool.
Simon.
this is Simon.
Oh, hi.
Hi,
Yeah.
Simon.
Yeah, sorry, I'm struggling to connect my mic. I think
Oh,
my
okay.
computer is not functioning well. But I'm sorry to take you back a little. I wanted to comment about the downloading of locations and providers. Um, just to ask, because I understand providers are found in a particular location.
Mm-hmm.
So, what if during the setup process
Mm-hmm.
we we let the user choose a location where that device is going to be used,
Mm-hmm.
and then we download the providers in that particular location? Because I believe in a particular location there maybe there are not so many, and therefore it's possible location.
Simon, you're breaking up. We cannot hear you. The last thing we
Um,
can hear is provider is in particular location, and if we pick location, we can download provider in that location only.
yes, we use location as basis for the type of providers we shall download to be stored on the phone, because the devices would be deployed to particular locations.
Um, yeah, Simon, I think probably have a look at the structure of the OpenMRS database and then see if we can link provider with location because I'm not quite sure if there is any link between those two in the data structure. So
Uh,
um I forgot. I don't think there is a link between them. So you
okay,
cannot say a provider. If you get a location, you will get a list of provider for that location. I don't think there's a link into it.
okay,
I could be wrong. I mean, I think if you can, if you could have a look at the structure in AMRS, if there is a link between them, then it will be good. But if not, then um, I don't think we can do that approach.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Then I wanted to also ask,
Mm-hmm.
there is this issue mUzima 230. um, I've seen users are having some issue working with Huawei Y210.
Mm-hmm.
They say that there's an error which happens at various points, not at a particular point within the application.
Mm-hmm.
And when the dialog for Accra comes up, where they probably could give some comment and click on OK. Um, the application now goes into um, it begins to blink. It shows up and disappears,
Mm-hmm.
kind of blinking. I've been looking at that, which somehow I understand also sometimes they have challenges of getting connected to the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have issues with wireless, so that at some point the phone maybe would lose connection to the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering because I posted, I managed to collect the stack trace for one particular instance of that error.
Mm-hmm.
I, I think I posted it on Jira. I wonder what could be the cause of this blinking,
Hmm.
because I've attempted to reproduce the error on my phone, which is a different type, but I wasn't.
You were able to do that in your device? Simon, you're breaking up again. Hello, Simon.
Simon, can you type? Because we can't hear you. So I just have a couple of questions here. Are you saying that the app starts to behave in a weird or starts blinking only after the ACRA display,
Um, I
or
don't.
is it like it starts blinking and then the ACRA comes up?
Um, the blinking happens. The ACRA comes up when the user presses OK. The screen disappears. We have a black, and then ACRA again appears. So the user would again type something and press OK. It disappears. Then and so on and so forth. And if you look at the structure,
Mhm. Okay, you're breaking up again.
You're
Could
breaking
you?
up again. I think we probably should take this discussion over email,
Yeah,
over IRC, Simon.
right. But one thing I just wanted to say is, Simon, hello, hello.
Simon?
hello, I'm getting you.
Okay. So one thing I just wanted to say is, whenever there is an exception or condition in the application, it will always prompt um, ACRA to come up. So maybe whatever error that's happening, it's happening over and over again, and the application just can't recover from it. And that's probably the reason why the ACRA comments are coming up. That would be my um, initial hunch as to why this is happening. But we'll again take a look and see if it is ACRA that's causing it. I don't think should be happening, but we can see that as well. But the ACRA coming up over and over again is probably because the same error is happening over and over again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I think we should take this conversation offline. I think because we're having a lot of
Yeah.
difficulties with the connection over there, Simon.
Right.
Um,
And Will, I just wanted to just point out one quick thing for that dynamically downloading the encounter and location.
mhm,
Uh, so I know that you said that when the wizard starts up, we'll have another additional step for location and provider, and it will be very similar to the way we download concepts.
mhm,
So, but after the wizard has run, sometimes when we want to when we want to add a concept again, like let's say like after the wizard has run, and so there is I think under the settings where
mhm.
there's a add cohorts and add concepts dynamically. This is not the wizard, this is outside of the wizard. you know how we have thing where we can go to settings and then we go and check concepts and we can add concepts through that screen as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we should have something like that for encounters and location, or do you think it's not necessary?
I think we should have something similar.
Yeah,
Let's
because I
try it.
think the two places of where we can add concepts is one through the wizard, and
Mm-hmm.
if you still want to add it later, we can always go to the settings and add concept.
Yeah.
So I think same behavior. So we should probably catch that also as a requirement when there's a Jira drawn up for this.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, Simon, I think there's a problem getting authenticated user from the device.
Yeah, I think that is part of the structure, right?
Mm-hmm. Is it possible to reproduce this again
Um,
on that same device, Simon?
I think I will follow up with the users because
Uh-huh.
they say after working with the device at some point it happens,
Uh-huh.
but I attempted myself. I could not reproduce the same error.
Yeah,
But
it's
according to them, it does not happen at exactly the same. Sometimes it could be while they are accessing forms,
mm-hmm.
sometimes while they are accessing the client list.
Uh-huh.
So their issue does not really happen at exactly one point within the application.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could it be related to the issue that you fixed with Lucene? You know, the error loading data from the local repo. I'm not sure which version of. Do they have your fix, or is it like an older version?
Again, according to them, it does not happen with other devices. It's only the Huawei Y210.
Oh, it seems to be very device specific,
Yeah.
Oh,
but it's not happening on other device, correct, Simon?
Yeah, so far because I tried on other devices, I could not do it, and I asked them to try with other devices to see whether they can have the same issue. But so far, up to this point, they have not had the issue on other devices.
Is it just one device or is it all across Huawei? Do you know, Simon?
The Huawei Y210, I think there are around three or four of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we probably need to have a look at this one.
Uh-huh.
I can have a look at this more and then I'll give you some pointers on how we can go about this one, Simon.
Okay.
Thank you so much for reporting this.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, is there anything else that we want to
Yes.
discuss?
Yeah, this is Malakwen.
Hey, Malakan.
Fine, thank you.
Uh-huh.
We still have some 203 entries in the error queue. I've tried at least to resolve, but I find most of the entries are, you find that the ID is already used,
Uh-huh.
something like, yes.
Okay. Yeah, we probably need to have a look at I will have a look at the database and all the error log. Is it in the production server, Malakan?
Yeah. Yes, in the production server.
I think I still have access to it. I'll have a look and then I'll let you know what's going on.
Okay, Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
No.
That's it
None
from
from
my
this side.
Okay. Cool, everyone. I think that is the call for today. Have a good weekend, and then I'll see you guys again in the Scrum Monday. Ada should be back by then.
Okay, sure.
Yep. Have a good
Bye.
day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.